So the Umbrella Academy ended. Every time a show ends, I just kind of get in my feelings. So, before I start talking about the show and, maybe just start getting a little too attached, let me just say that I think the show is good. I don't think it's like great by any means. If you haven't watched it, it's not like, oh, you guys gotta go watch it right now. It's more so like, yo, there's actually a cool show that actually can hold you down for 4 seasons. There are some parts that, are not too strong. There are some parts that will really get you hooked. But overall, I think it's like a B. Might be a B minus if, you're a Michelin star, show reviewer. Below the B's, you're doing too much. Higher than the B's, like, is smelling like a little bit of glaze. I don't really feel like there's actually much to write home about with this show, which is why I think most of this video is probably not even going to be about the show, but more so highlighting certain things that they do right. Honestly speaking, it started with, the cast of Stranger Things, but these child actors, man, they're starting to come out the gate, right about their business. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like the cast of Stranger Things, if you consider them child actors at the start, they were actually putting on a convincing performance. The dude that plays Five in Umbrella Academy, he's about that action. I need y'all to understand that. Like, it's actually crazy for the youngest cast member to end up being my favorite character. Has to be a testament to how convincing his performance is. And yet another reason why Five is the greatest number there is. But I digress. As soon as he was on the screen, I just had to know, yo, what is Five's up to? I also think, like, I have an internal bias, and I feel like, in the spirit of honesty, you know me, I know you. I gotta let y'all know what that's about. There's a certain, like, trope when it comes to time travel that I, mess with heavy. And that's kind of what they do with Five in the Umbrella Academy. It's actually also why, side note, The Flash was my favorite superhero for a very long time. He's not anymore, but we'll get into that. There's a certain thing that writers like to do when it comes with time travel. So the storyline they typically go with, being able to revert all your mistakes is, they kind of like wrestle with inevitability. And I think that, like, seeing that unfold is always interesting to me. They show you the end point, and this person that can always revert their mistakes is essentially trying to get as far away from it as possible. And what's really dope is, they'll do something drastic to really make it clear that, we're going this way. And as the show goes, you can see them, bring you a little closer that way. And then a little closer and a little closer. And then you end up seeing how, like, no matter how hard you try, you always end up at that initial point. You know what I'm saying? And I think that, like, for whatever reason, I just never get tired of watching that. To tie this all back to The Flash, you remember, guys, in the CW Flash show, right? Everybody would be like, oh, why does the Flash always have to fight a speedster? First, it was the Reverse Flash, and then we went to Professor Zoom, and then we went to Savitar. But I'm not going to lie to you. The time I stopped watching the Flash is actually when we deviated from that. Why? And this is ultimately why the Flash stopped being my favorite superhero. I feel like that's really all you could do with the Flash. And, maybe it's just like, I just haven't, read enough Flash comics or watched enough, Flash animated shows. But with the speed they gave this man, bro, like, realistically, this man should never lose. You know what I'm saying? And so the only time I can convince myself that, like, there's actual stakes for this man, and it's not just, bullshit writing, is when he's facing somebody that's just as fast as him, or if he's more so wrestling with a concept as opposed to another actual villain. When it is about, like, can he save his mom and also keep the world safe from all the repercussions of changing the timeline to that degree? You know what I'm saying? Can he mold the past to be exactly what he wants it to be and still not deify himself and not, fall into some kind of God complex? Those are the Flash stories that I actually really, really enjoy. Kind of like Flashpoint. Like, that's essentially what Flashpoint is about. I don't give a shit. Like, the Flash fighting Captain Cold, let's be for real, like, this makes no sense. The Flash fighting whoever can't run as fast as him, this doesn't make any sense. But when it actually comes to, like, those kind of, intricate, philosophical type, you know what I'm saying? That's the time where, like, I actually really, really like the Flash. Like, this applies to Superman too. I don't necessarily need to see them fight villains the same way I enjoy watching Iron Man or Wolverine fight people. To me, these really super powered humans are only interesting when it comes to their philosophies and how they manage all this power that they're in control of. And so let's bring it all back, y'all. Let's bring it all back to the Umbrella Academy. That is largely what Five goes through throughout the show. He starts off as this, like, agent that's trying to keep really on some TVA shit. I can't believe we didn't talk about Loki, because that's the same shit. So Loki season 2 that I keep ranting and raving about, like, that's essentially the whole concept of season 2. Is like, when you deal with time travel, how do you finally realize that what you're dealing with, brother, is inevitable? You know what I'm saying? Like, those stories, for whatever reason, I can't get enough word of J. Cole. Yeah, and so, Five really does go through that, and if you know how it ends, that's kind of it when he finally meets himself in that little, coffee shop, diner, deli, whatever the fuck. And he's talking to himself, and he's just like, bro, do you realize what's going on here, man? Like, there is no fighting this. Yeah, I think Five is a really interesting character, and that's not to even say that he's the only thing that's dope about that show. Because there is something to be said about team ups. I've never been a fan of team ups. As I'm getting older, I'm realizing how important it is to have good chemistry between the team. And you want to know who actually gets that shit? Ooh, perfect. Guardians of the motherfucking Galaxy. I'm telling you this right now, bro. Hollywood very rarely makes me laugh. That's kind of the reason why I didn't really like the Deadpool movie. It just wasn't funny to me. But Guardians, it's not even that it was necessarily funny, but it was entertaining to see this team interact with each other, and that's why they are one of my favorite team ups. Young Justice, the way these characters bounce off each other just feels organic. It feels genuine. As much as I like the show, I actually don't think, if we're ranking, team ups and team chemistry, let me know what y'all think. I actually wouldn't even rank Avatar: The Last Airbender that high. I think in terms of how good I know teams can get and how good, they can gel together, Team Avatar or Boomerang, I don't think that they're bad, but they're not Guardians of the Galaxy good. They're not Young Justice good. And, I don't think I would put Umbrella Academy on that level in terms of their chemistry, but it was really dope to, see them interact with one another. Like, they weren't exactly family, but they kind of were. I put the team chemistry on a similar level that I would put Stranger Things, even though I think Stranger Things is overall on a higher tier or in a different tier than Umbrella Academy. But in terms of the cast and how well they mesh, yeah, man, I actually do think that it actually might be a similar caliber of team up. But yeah, shout out the Umbrella Academy, man. Like, it's dope to see a show end on its own terms. From what I can understand, the cast actually decided to walk away, and that's always dope to see. Another thing that Hollywood needs to understand, y'all, is y'all need to stop with these 2-year breaks, bro. Like, understand something. Like, when I was watching CW, like, shows and shit, you get 8 months of the show, they take the summers off, they come back the next year. Now, I understand that these writers need to get paid, but as soon as, everybody's got their money ironed out and people are getting what they're owed, bro, I need that schedule back. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need that schedule back. Thank you.